Chapter 23 of the 48 Laws of Power is called Concentrate Your Forces. This chapter discusses the importance of focusing all one's resources and efforts on a single objective or task, in order to increase one's chances of success. The author argues that spreading oneself too thin can result in mediocre results, while focusing all one's energy on a single target can help to overcome obstacles and achieve one's goals. The chapter also stresses the importance of adapting to changing circumstances and adjusting one's strategies as needed. The author warns against being too rigid in one's approach, and suggests that it is better to be flexible and adjust one's plans in response to new information or changing conditions. In addition, the chapter offers tips on how to determine what the most important objective is and how to concentrate one's resources and energies effectively. The author suggests that one should be mindful of the resources that are at one's disposal, and that it is important to prioritize and allocate resources based on what is most important. Overall, the main takeaway from Chapter 23 is that in order to be successful, one must concentrate one's forces and focus all one's resources on a single objective or task. This requires a strategic approach, an understanding of what is most important, and the ability to adapt to changing circumstances and adjust one's plans as needed. Chapter 24 of the 48 Laws of Power discusses the law of enter action with boldness. The author states that the first impression one makes is crucial, and it's important to act with confidence and boldness to make a lasting impact. The first part of the chapter talks about the importance of making a bold first impression. This means taking risks, being decisive, and commanding attention. The author notes that this initial impression can have a lasting impact, so it's crucial to make the most of it. The second part of the chapter focuses on the importance of being decisive and taking action. The author states that people who act quickly and decisively have a greater chance of success, while those who hesitate and procrastinate are more likely to miss opportunities. The final part of the chapter highlights the benefits of taking bold action. The author argues that taking bold action helps to establish one's power, command respect, and set the tone for future interactions. By acting with boldness, one is able to create a powerful reputation and establish themselves as a force to be reckoned with. Chapter 25 of the 48 Laws of Power focuses on the law of reality is often unkind, and how it's crucial to maintain a realistic perspective of the world in order to succeed in power. The author argues that people who believe they live in a fair and just world will be vulnerable to deceit and manipulation. The law also highlights that the pursuit of power often requires one to be cunning and ruthless, and sometimes, people will have to do things that are morally questionable. The first part of the chapter stresses the importance of accepting the reality of the world, which is often harsh and unforgiving. The author states that those who hold on to idealistic beliefs and ignore the realities of the world are vulnerable to deception and exploitation. The second part of the chapter examines the importance of being aware of the motivations of others and being aware of their actions and tactics. The author highlights that success and power often requires one to be aware of the motives and strategies of others. The third part of the chapter discusses the importance of being realistic about one's own abilities and limitations. The author argues that people who are overly optimistic and believe in their own invincibility will be prone to failure and disappointment. The chapter ends with a cautionary note that in the pursuit of power, it's necessary to be both realistic and ruthless, but one must be careful not to let this ruthless attitude seep into their personal life and relationships. Chapter 26 of the 48 Laws of Power is titled, Keep Your Hands Clean. The main idea of this chapter is that in order to maintain power and avoid being implicated in negative or controversial situations, it's important to stay above reproach and avoid direct involvement in unethical or illegal activities. Instead, one should use intermediaries or proxies to handle these situations, while still maintaining control over the outcome. This way, if anything goes wrong, one can deny responsibility and maintain their reputation. The author argues that it's possible to achieve one's goals without getting one's hands dirty, as long as one is clever enough to use intermediaries or proxies to do the dirty work. By using other people or organizations to carry out one's bidding, one can create a plausible deniability and avoid direct involvement in negative or controversial situations. Additionally, the author suggests that one should be careful about the people one associates with, as the actions of one's allies can reflect back on oneself. One should also be careful about leaving a trail of evidence that could implicate oneself in illegal or unethical activities, as this could lead to a loss of power and damage one's reputation. In summary, the main takeaway from Chapter 26 of the 48 Laws of Power is that in order to maintain power, it's important to stay above reproach and avoid direct involvement in negative or controversial situations. Instead, one should use intermediaries or proxies to handle these situations, while still maintaining control over the outcome, in order to maintain one's reputation and avoid being implicated in anything negative. Chapter 27 of the 48 Laws of Power focuses on the idea that you should play the perfect courtier. In this chapter, author Robert Greene argues that it is essential to be able to adapt to changing circumstances and be versatile in your approach to people, rather than being rigid and predictable. He emphasizes the importance of appearing to be knowledgeable and aware of the situation at hand, in order to create a positive impression and gain influence. One key aspect of this law is to be able to understand and anticipate the needs and desires of those around you, and to be able to fulfill those needs in a way that benefits both you and them. This can involve adapting your behavior and communication style to fit the personality and preferences of those you interact with, as well as being able to present yourself in a manner that is fitting for the situation. In addition to versatility, Greene also emphasizes the importance of being able to flatter and ingratiate yourself with others, in order to build trust and earn their respect. This can involve using compliments and praise, as well as being willing to make sacrifices for others and putting their needs before your own. In conclusion, the chapter focuses on the idea that to maintain power, one must create a sense of mystique and create an aura of mystery around oneself. By doing this, one can keep others in a state of suspense and keep them guessing about one's intentions and actions. The conclusion of the chapter highlights that by presenting oneself as unpredictable, one can increase one's power and maintain control over others. The chapter also emphasizes the importance of avoiding boredom, as well as the need to keep oneself and one's power relevant and valuable by constantly adapting and changing. Chapter 28 of the 48 Laws of Power is about enter action with boldness. The conclusion of the chapter is that one should not be afraid to act with boldness when the opportunity presents itself, as the alternative is to miss out on the chance to achieve greatness. According to the author, boldness can be a valuable asset in the game of power, as it often leads to unexpected opportunities, and allows one to take advantage of unexpected circumstances. The chapter emphasizes the importance of being decisive and taking action in order to achieve success, even if it means taking risks. The author states that boldness should not be confused with recklessness, as bold actions require careful consideration and calculation, but that calculated risks can often lead to the greatest rewards. The chapter also highlights the importance of preparation and the need to have a plan in place in order to make bold action successful. In conclusion, Chapter 28 encourages the reader to be bold in their actions, to take advantage of opportunities, and to embrace the challenges and risks that come with success. The author argues that it is only through bold action that one can truly achieve greatness and attain lasting power. Chapter 29 of the 48 Laws of Power is titled, Plan All the Way to the End. This chapter emphasizes the importance of long-term planning and preparation to ensure success in any endeavor. The chapter begins by stating that people often fail to achieve their goals because they do not plan ahead. It is essential to think long-term and consider all possible scenarios before taking any action. The author suggests that one should think about what they want to achieve in the next few years and then work backward to create a plan of action. According to the author, it is crucial to be prepared for any situation that may arise. This includes not only planning for success but also planning for failure. One must anticipate potential obstacles and have contingency plans in place. Additionally, one must be flexible and willing to adjust their plans as circumstances change. The author also stresses the importance of keeping one's goals and plans a secret. By sharing one's plans with others, one risks exposing vulnerabilities and giving away too much information. It is better to keep one's plans close to the chest and only reveal them to those who can be trusted. Furthermore, the chapter emphasizes the need for patience and persistence. Success rarely comes overnight, and setbacks and failures are to be expected. It is crucial to stay focused on one's goals and remain disciplined in the face of adversity. Overall, this chapter stresses the importance of long-term planning, preparedness, and patience in achieving success. It serves as a reminder to think beyond the present moment and consider the future when making decisions and taking action. Chapter 30 of The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is titled, Make Your Accomplishments Seem Effortless. Your actions must seem natural and conducive to your environment. In this chapter, Greene discusses the importance of making your accomplishments appear effortless and natural, even if you have put in a significant amount of hard work and effort. Greene explains that people are often impressed by those who make things look easy, and that this can lead to a greater level of respect and admiration from others. He argues that this can be achieved by following several key principles, such as mastering your craft to the point where it becomes second nature, controlling your emotions and body language, and adapting to your environment. Additionally, Greene emphasizes the importance of making your actions appear natural and effortless in order to gain the trust and confidence of others. He notes that people are more likely to be suspicious of those who appear to be working too hard or trying too hard to impress others. To illustrate his point, Greene provides several examples of historical figures who were known for making their accomplishments appear effortless, such as Napoleon Bonaparte, who made his military victories seem like foregone conclusions, and Isaac Newton, who downplayed his own intelligence and instead attributed his success to the work of others. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of balancing hard work and effort with the appearance of ease and naturalness in order to gain the respect and admiration of others. Chapter 31 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled, Get Others to Play with the Cards You Deal. The chapter explores the concept of using intermediaries or third parties to do your bidding, rather than taking direct action yourself. The author argues that this technique is particularly effective in situations where there is resistance to your ideas or actions. The chapter starts by discussing how intermediaries can create a sense of mystery and intrigue around your actions, which can help to build a sense of anticipation and excitement. This can be especially effective when dealing with people who are skeptical or resistant to your ideas. The author then goes on to discuss the importance of choosing the right intermediaries. They suggest that the ideal intermediary should be someone who is respected and trusted by the people you are trying to influence. Additionally, they should be someone who is able to effectively communicate your ideas and objectives. The chapter also explores the potential pitfalls of using intermediaries. For example, if the intermediary is too closely associated with you, it can be difficult to maintain a sense of mystery and intrigue. Additionally, if the intermediary is not effective in communicating your message, it can actually damage your reputation. To avoid these pitfalls, the author suggests that you should be very careful when selecting intermediaries. You should also provide them with clear instructions and guidance on how to communicate your message effectively. Finally, you should monitor their performance closely to ensure that they are representing you in the way that you intended. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of strategic thinking and planning when it comes to using intermediaries to achieve your goals. By carefully selecting the right intermediaries and providing them with clear guidance, you can effectively influence others without having to take direct action yourself. Chapter 32 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled, Play to People's Fantasies. The chapter discusses how people often have fantasies about who they are and what they want to be, and how playing to those fantasies can be a powerful tool in gaining power and influence over others. The chapter begins by emphasizing the importance of understanding people's desires and fantasies. It advises that one should not try to appeal to people's rational side, but rather their emotional side, and their desires and dreams. The author suggests that people's fantasies can be used to manipulate them, but it is important to do so in a way that does not insult their intelligence. The chapter goes on to explain how people's fantasies can be used to control them in different ways. For example, by making them feel special or unique, by giving them a sense of power, or by creating an illusion of exclusivity. The author suggests that by playing to people's fantasies, one can gain their loyalty and support, as well as their admiration and respect. Furthermore, the chapter advises that when playing to people's fantasies, one should be subtle and not overdo it. The author warns against being too obvious in one's flattery or praise, as it can be seen as insincere or manipulative. The chapter concludes by emphasizing the importance of understanding and playing to people's fantasies in gaining power and influence. However, it also warns against becoming too dependent on this strategy, as it can backfire if people feel that they have been deceived or manipulated. Chapter 33 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled Discover Each Man's Thumbscrew. The chapter explains that in order to manipulate and control others, you must first understand their weaknesses and vulnerabilities. These weaknesses can be physical, emotional, or psychological, and once you identify them, you can use them to gain power over that person. The chapter cites examples from history, such as King Philip of Macedon, who was able to control his generals by learning their weaknesses and exploiting them. The chapter also discusses how Elizabeth I of England was able to control her court by learning their secrets and using them to her advantage. The chapter provides several strategies for discovering a person's thumbscrew, including observing their behavior and body language, listening to their conversations, and even engaging in small talk to glean information about their personal life. Once you identify a person's weakness, the chapter advises that you use it sparingly and strategically to achieve your goals. The chapter also warns about the dangers of using this tactic too aggressively, as it can lead to resentment and backlash. The key is to use the knowledge of a person's weakness as a tool to influence and control them, rather than as a means to harm or manipulate them for personal gain. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of understanding human weaknesses and using them strategically to gain power and control. Chapter 34 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled Be Royal in Your Own Fashion, Act Like a King to be Treated Like One. The central theme of the chapter is the importance of projecting an image of power and royalty in order to be treated with respect and admiration by others. The chapter begins by stating that most people are mediocre and are content with their lot in life. However, there are a select few who are born with an innate sense of superiority and a desire to rise above the masses. These individuals are like kings and have a regal quality about them that commands respect and admiration. The chapter goes on to explain that anyone can develop a sense of regality by adopting certain attitudes and behaviors. For example, a person should project an image of calmness and serenity, even in the face of chaos and conflict. They should also be deliberate in their actions and speak with authority and conviction. Another key aspect of projecting regality is to surround oneself with opulence and luxury. This does not necessarily mean spending a lot of money, but rather creating an environment that is aesthetically pleasing and conducive to relaxation and contemplation. The chapter also discusses the importance of having a sense of mystery and distance. People are naturally drawn to those who are enigmatic and who keep their true thoughts and feelings hidden. By projecting an aura of mystery and distance, a person can increase their allure and attract more followers. Finally, the chapter emphasizes the importance of being a benevolent ruler. A true king is one who cares for his subjects and is willing to go to great lengths to ensure their well-being. By adopting this attitude, a person can win the loyalty and devotion of others. Overall, the chapter teaches that by adopting certain attitudes and behaviors, anyone can project an image of regality and command respect and admiration from others. Chapter 35 of The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is titled Master the Art of Timing. The chapter focuses on the importance of timing and how to use it to your advantage. The chapter starts by emphasizing that timing is one of the most important factors in the success or failure of any endeavor. It is not just about doing the right thing but doing it at the right time. The chapter explains that timing is a skill that can be learned and mastered. Greene advises that to master the art of timing, one must first be aware of the patterns of change and transformation that occur in the world around us. One should also pay attention to the changes and transformations that are taking place within oneself. The chapter then goes on to discuss the different types of timing, such as fast and slow timing. Fast timing involves acting quickly and decisively, while slow timing involves patience and waiting for the right moment. Both types of timing have their advantages and disadvantages, and it is important to know when to use which type. The chapter also emphasizes the importance of being in tune with the rhythms of the world and the people around you. This involves being aware of the cycles of growth and decay, and knowing when to take advantage of them. Finally, the chapter provides some practical advice on how to master the art of timing. This includes being prepared, being flexible, and being able to adapt to changing circumstances. It also involves being able to read people and situations, and knowing when to act and when to hold back. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of timing in achieving success and provides practical advice on how to master this skill. Chapter 36 of The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is titled Disdain Things You Cannot Have. Ignoring them is the best revenge. The main idea of the chapter is that it is important to master the art of indifference to those things that are beyond our reach. According to the author, many people are consumed with envy and resentment towards those who have what they do not. This can lead to self-destructive behavior, as they become obsessed with trying to attain what is out of their reach. However, the more they try to obtain it, the more they will be disappointed, frustrated, and bitter. Instead, the author suggests that it is better to cultivate a sense of detachment and indifference towards these unattainable things. This means acknowledging that they exist, but choosing not to focus on them or allow them to affect our emotions. The author argues that by ignoring what we cannot have, we will have more time and energy to focus on what we can attain. Moreover, we will not be weighed down by the frustration and bitterness that come with constantly striving for something that is unattainable. The author provides several examples of historical figures who mastered this art of indifference, including the philosopher Diogenes, who lived in a barrel and mocked those who were obsessed with wealth and power. The author also provides practical advice for readers on how to cultivate indifference towards things they cannot have, including focusing on gratitude for what they do have, developing a sense of purpose and meaning in life, and learning to detach from emotions that are not helpful or productive. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of mastering the art of indifference in order to live a fulfilling and productive life. Chapter 37 of The 48 Laws of Power is called Create Compelling Spectacles, and it focuses on the power of creating dramatic and memorable events in order to capture people's attention and leave a lasting impression on them. According to the author, humans have an innate desire for drama and excitement, and those who can provide it have the power to captivate and influence others. To create a compelling spectacle, one must first identify the audience and their desires, then craft an event that meets those desires in a dramatic and unexpected way. The author offers several examples of historical figures who used the power of spectacle to gain and maintain power. For instance, Louis XIV of France was known for his lavish and extravagant displays of wealth and power, while Hitler used grand rallies and speeches to rally his supporters and intimidate his enemies. The author also warns against creating spectacles that are too extreme or offensive, as they can backfire and damage one's reputation. It is important to strike a balance between spectacle and substance, and to use spectacle as a tool to reinforce one's power rather than as a substitute for it. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of creating memorable and impactful events in order to establish oneself as a powerful and influential figure. Chapter 38 of The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is titled Think as you like but behave like others. This chapter explains the importance of conformity and fitting in with social norms while simultaneously maintaining one's individuality and identity. The chapter starts by explaining that people have a deep need to conform and be accepted by their peers. Those who stand out too much or do not conform to social norms are often seen as threatening or strange. However, at the same time, individuals who are too conformist and blend in too much are also not respected or noticed. The chapter provides several examples of famous individuals who were able to strike the right balance between conforming and being unique. For example, Benjamin Franklin was able to fit into high society while still maintaining his independent thinking and original ideas. The chapter also warns against being too different or eccentric, as this can lead to alienation and rejection from society. It is important to pick and choose when to be different and when to conform, depending on the situation and context. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of balance between fitting in and being unique, as well as the need to understand social norms and expectations to navigate social situations successfully. Chapter 39 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled Stir Up Waters to Catch Fish, and it discusses the importance of creating confusion and chaos in order to gain an advantage over others. The chapter begins by explaining that when the waters are still, the fish can easily see the fishermen and avoid being caught. However, when the water is stirred up, the fish become confused and disoriented, making them easier to catch. The author advises that this concept can be applied to human interactions as well. By creating confusion and chaos, one can gain an advantage over their competitors. The author gives several examples of historical figures who have used this tactic to their advantage, including Niccolò Machiavelli and Napoleon Bonaparte. The chapter goes on to explain that creating chaos is not enough, as it is important to also have a clear plan and strategy in place. One must be able to take advantage of the confusion they have created and use it to further their goals. The author also warns that this tactic can be dangerous and should be used with caution, as it can easily backfire if not executed properly. Additionally, one must be prepared to deal with the aftermath of their actions, as stirring up waters can lead to unintended consequences. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of being able to adapt to changing circumstances and use them to one's advantage, even if it means creating chaos and confusion in the short term. Chapter 39 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled Stir Up Waters to Catch Fish, and it discusses the importance of creating confusion and chaos in order to gain an advantage over others. The chapter begins by explaining that when the waters are still, the fish can easily see the fishermen and avoid being caught. However, when the water is stirred up, the fish become confused and disoriented, making them easier to catch. The author advises that this concept can be applied to human interactions as well. By creating confusion and chaos, one can gain an advantage over their competitors. The author gives several examples of historical figures who have used this tactic to their advantage, including Niccolò Machiavelli and Napoleon Bonaparte. The chapter goes on to explain that creating chaos is not enough, as it is important to also have a clear plan and strategy in place. One must be able to take advantage of the confusion they have created and use it to further their goals. The author also warns that this tactic can be dangerous and should be used with caution, as it can easily backfire if not executed properly. Additionally, one must be prepared to deal with the aftermath of their actions, as stirring up waters can lead to unintended consequences. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of being able to adapt to changing circumstances and use them to one's advantage, even if it means creating chaos and confusion in the short term. Chapter 40 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled Despise the Free Lunch. The main theme of this chapter is about the danger of accepting something for nothing, particularly when it comes to generosity from others. According to the author, people who offer free things may have ulterior motives, and accepting them puts you in a position of indebtedness. The author advises being wary of those who offer you something for nothing and suggests that you should always question their motives. The author argues that accepting something for nothing can lead to a loss of power and control. When you accept a gift or favor, you become indebted to the giver and they may use this to their advantage in the future. The author suggests that it is better to pay your own way, even if it is more difficult or takes longer, as it will help you maintain your power and independence. The author also advises against taking credit for something that you did not earn or achieve, as it can lead to a loss of credibility and trust. He suggests that it is better to be honest about your achievements and acknowledge the contributions of others. In conclusion, the chapter emphasizes the importance of maintaining your independence and not becoming indebted to others by accepting something for nothing. The author advises that it is better to pay your own way and be wary of those who offer free things, as they may have ulterior motives. Chapter 41 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled, Avoid Stepping into a Great Man's Shoes. The chapter begins by stating that it is difficult to follow in the footsteps of a great predecessor, as they leave a large shadow to fill. Therefore, it is recommended to create one's own identity and avoid direct comparisons. The chapter suggests that when stepping into a role previously occupied by a great leader, one should avoid trying to imitate or surpass them. Instead, it is important to create a new vision and establish a different approach that aligns with one's own strengths and values. Additionally, the chapter recommends that one should be cautious about taking on a role where they are expected to replicate the successes of their predecessor. The pressure to maintain the same level of success can be overwhelming and lead to failure. It is important to focus on one's own strengths and leverage them in a way that can bring new value to the role. The chapter also cautions against trying to erase the legacy of the predecessor, as it can create resentment and undermine one's credibility. Instead, it is suggested to acknowledge and respect their achievements while establishing one's own identity. In summary, the chapter advises that it is important to establish one's own identity and approach when stepping into a role previously occupied by a great leader, rather than trying to imitate or surpass them. It is recommended to focus on one's own strengths and leverage them in a way that can bring new value to the role, while acknowledging and respecting the legacy of the predecessor. Chapter 42 of The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is titled, Strike the Shepherd and the Sheep Will Scatter. The chapter emphasizes the importance of identifying and targeting the key decision-makers in any organization or group to gain power and control. Greene argues that it is often futile to try to influence or persuade every member of a group or organization to follow your lead. Instead, he advises finding the leader or leaders who hold the most power and influence over the group and focusing your efforts on winning them over. Once you have gained the support of the key decision-makers, the rest of the group is likely to follow their lead. Greene cites historical examples of leaders who were able to gain power by striking at the shepherd, including Julius Caesar, who defeated the Gallic tribes by capturing and executing their leader, Vercingetorix. The chapter also warns against being too obvious in your attempt to target the leaders, as this can cause them to become defensive and resistant to your advances. Instead, Greene advises using subtle methods such as flattery, playing on their weaknesses, or manipulating their relationships with others to gain their favor and support. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the importance of strategic thinking and targeting the key decision-makers in any group or organization to gain power and influence. Chapter 43 of The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is titled, Work on the Hearts and Minds of Others. In this chapter, the author emphasizes the importance of influencing people's emotions and beliefs in order to gain power. The first law in this chapter is to enter their spirit. This means that to influence someone, you need to understand their perspective and emotions. By empathizing with their situation and showing them that you understand and care about their concerns, you can build rapport and trust. The second law is, align your targets. This means that you should work to align your goals with the other person's goals. By finding common ground and showing them how your interests align, you can make it easier for them to support you. The third law is, beware the fragile ego. The author cautions that people are often very protective of their ego and self-image, and any threats to these can cause them to become defensive and resistant to your influence. Therefore, it is important to be tactful and avoid insulting or belittling them. The fourth law is, create a common bond. This means finding a shared interest or experience that can bring you and the other person closer together. By finding something you both care about, you can create a sense of camaraderie and loyalty. The fifth law is, demonstrate, do not explain. Instead of telling people what they should do or why they should believe something, show them through your actions and results. By demonstrating your expertise and success, you can inspire confidence and trust. The sixth law is respect the other person's autonomy. This means recognizing that people have their own beliefs and values, and you cannot force them to do something they do not want to do. Instead, focus on building relationships and finding ways to influence them without being too pushy. Overall, this chapter emphasizes the importance of building relationships and understanding people's emotions and beliefs in order to gain power and influence. By working on their hearts and minds, you can create a sense of loyalty and support that can help you achieve your goals. Chapter 44 of The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is titled Disarm and Infuriate with the Mirror Effect. This chapter discusses the power of using a mirror effect in order to disarm and infuriate your opponent. The mirror effect involves reflecting back to your opponent their own actions and words. By doing so, you make them feel as if they are being watched or judged, which can create discomfort and defensiveness. This technique can be used in various situations, such as negotiations, arguments, and even in courtrooms. The chapter provides several examples of the mirror effect in action, including how the famous lawyer Clarence Darrow used it to win a case against the state of Tennessee, and how political strategists use it to win elections. Greene also provides several strategies for using the mirror effect effectively. These include staying calm and composed, mirroring only the negative aspects of your opponent's behavior, and being consistent in your use of the technique. Overall, the chapter emphasizes the power of the mirror effect in disarming and infuriating your opponent, and provides useful strategies for using this technique effectively in various situations. Chapter 45 of The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene is titled Preach the Need for Change, but Never Reform Too Much at Once. The chapter discusses the importance of incremental change and caution when implementing reforms, especially in situations where people may be resistant to change or comfortable with the status quo. Greene argues that change is necessary for progress and success, but it must be done gradually to avoid overwhelming people and triggering their resistance. He advises people to create a sense of urgency and need for change, while also preserving some aspects of the old order to avoid a complete upheaval that may lead to chaos and instability. The chapter provides historical examples of leaders who successfully implemented incremental changes, such as Queen Elizabeth I and Mao Zedong, as well as those who failed to do so and suffered the consequences, such as Mikhail Gorbachev. The key takeaway from the chapter is that change should be introduced gradually and strategically, with a clear understanding of the current power dynamics and the potential consequences of reform. Chapter 46 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled Never Appear Too Perfect. The central idea of this chapter is that people are intimidated by perfection, and if you seem too perfect, it can create envy, resentment, and even hostility in others. Therefore, it's important to strategically reveal flaws, mistakes, and weaknesses to make yourself more approachable and relatable. The chapter begins by describing the common mistake of striving for perfection in all aspects of life. While perfection may seem desirable, it's not always attainable, and it can create a negative perception among others. The author emphasizes the importance of being human and making mistakes, as this creates a sense of relatability and approachability. The chapter then goes on to discuss the concept of flawed excellence. This means that while you should strive for excellence in your work, you should also be open about your flaws and imperfections. Revealing flaws can be a strategic move, as it creates a more approachable and human image, which can help build relationships and trust with others. The author also warns against being too predictable or consistent, as this can create a sense of boredom and lack of excitement around you. Instead, it's important to surprise and intrigue others by revealing unexpected flaws or mistakes. Finally, the chapter discusses the importance of using humor to diffuse tension and make yourself more approachable. Humor can help break down barriers and create a sense of camaraderie with others. Overall, the message of this chapter is to embrace your imperfections and use them strategically to create a more approachable and relatable image. By doing so, you can build stronger relationships and gain the trust and respect of others. Chapter 47 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled, Do Not Go Past the Mark You Aimed For. In victory, learn when to stop. The chapter advises that it is important to know when to stop pushing for more in a victory or negotiation, and to avoid overreaching and causing harm to oneself or one's reputation. The author warns that there are dangers in overextending one's reach, such as inviting revenge or alienating allies. The chapter emphasizes the importance of being able to assess situations and recognize when to be satisfied with what has been achieved. The author advises that it is better to leave a situation with a little less than what one had hoped for than to risk losing everything by pushing too hard. The author also suggests that it is important to avoid provoking envy or resentment in others by flaunting one's successes or overreaching. The chapter provides historical examples of individuals who pushed too far, such as Napoleon Bonaparte and Julius Caesar, who both ultimately faced downfalls due to their overambition. The author concludes by advising readers to be content with what they have achieved, avoid being greedy or overreaching, and maintain good relationships with allies and enemies alike. Chapter 48 of The 48 Laws of Power is titled Assume Formlessness. The chapter argues that the key to success and survival in a constantly changing world is to be flexible and adaptable, always ready to change course and adjust to new circumstances. The chapter draws from the ancient Chinese military treatise, The Art of War, by Sun Tzu, who emphasized the importance of being able to change strategies and tactics in response to changing circumstances. The chapter provides examples of historical figures who embodied the principle of formlessness, including Julius Caesar, who was able to adapt his tactics to defeat his enemies in different ways, and Franklin D. Roosevelt, who was able to lead the United States through a period of great turmoil by remaining flexible and adaptable. The chapter also emphasizes the importance of being able to disguise one's intentions and actions, as this can help to avoid becoming a target or being trapped by enemies or opponents. The chapter provides examples of historical figures who were successful at disguising their intentions, including Queen Elizabeth I of England, who was able to outmaneuver her enemies by appearing weak and indecisive while secretly pursuing her own goals. Overall, the chapter argues that the key to success and survival in a changing world is to be formless, flexible, and adaptable, always ready to change course and adjust to new circumstances, while also being able to disguise one's intentions and actions when necessary. The book is a guide to the art of power, and offers insights and advice on how to gain, maintain, and wield power in various situations. The book is organized around 48 laws, each of which outlines a principle or strategy for gaining power. Some of the key themes and takeaways from the book include: 1. Understanding power dynamics. The book emphasizes the importance of understanding the dynamics of power and how it operates in different contexts. It provides practical advice on how to identify power plays and recognize the motivations of others. 2. Developing cunning and strategy. The book stresses the importance of developing cunning and strategy in order to gain and maintain power. It provides advice on how to manipulate situations, make strategic alliances, and overcome obstacles. 3. Concealing your intentions. The book encourages readers to conceal their true intentions and motives in order to maintain an advantage in power dynamics. It provides advice on how to use deception and misdirection to your advantage. 4. Maintaining control. The book provides strategies for maintaining control in various situations, including managing your emotions, avoiding being manipulated, and keeping your power from being undermined. 5. Embracing paradox. The book highlights the paradoxes inherent in power dynamics, such as the need to be both feared and loved, and the importance of balancing audacity with caution. 6. Adapting to change. The book emphasizes the importance of adapting to changing circumstances in order to maintain power. It provides advice on how to be flexible and responsive to change, and how to overcome resistance to change. These are some of the key themes and takeaways from The 48 Laws of Power. The book is often viewed as a controversial and Machiavellian guide to power, and is not suitable for all readers. However, it provides valuable insights and practical advice on how to navigate the complex world of power dynamics and achieve success in various situations.
If this video was helpful to you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more similar content. I'm always looking for ways to improve. Your comments and opinions are important to me, so please leave a comment below and let me know your thoughts on this video.